And plenty of people watching on will be keen to follow Fernando Alonso's progress. And it's lights out, and away we go. All drivers have taken their positions again. Once more, they're ready to race. And it's lights out, and away we go.
Have I been talking? No, I haven't. So, yeah, for those who have just tuned in, it's lap 17 of 58. It's currently Piastri versus Leclerc versus Russell versus Perez. And I'll be honest with you, that's my bad. I honestly thought I had my mic connected, but it wasn't. So I've unmuted my controller mic. I'm gonna quickly plug in my main mic for this, because you'll get better quality than the PS controller. A possible change in order, but yeah, if you've missed out so far, Yuki Tsunoda, massive shunt on about lap 5, saw him have a very much premature end to the season opener. George Russell picked up damage on the first lap, and then yeah, it's really been a fight between Red Bull and Ferraris for this win, as there's been on and off periods for the likes of Fernando Alonso or Lewis Hamilton in the Aston Martin and Sauber. Verstappen qualified P11, he's only up to P10 so far, so if you consider the net, he's only gained a place from Yuki Tsunoda's DNF. Apart from that, he's at a stalemate. As yeah, I do have a drink with me, so yeah. There's Valtteri Bottas. He's catching Liam Lawson down the inside of Liam Lawson. Lawson's had a similar overtaking attempt on his teammate numerous times here, and just like Lawson, Bottas will not be able to overtake in that fashion, as there's Lando Norris having another attack at Verstappen after he regained the place. Colapinto is having a stinker. Personally, yes, I agree. He did start in the top 10, and now he's down in 14. Whereas Liam Lawson, he is shining like a diamond in the sky, as Rihanna says. But there goes Lando Norris. He's getting closer and closer to Max. Max goes to the inside. Norris will have a look around the outside, but will not get the move done here. Teo Pourchaire has Pierre Gasly all over at the back of him. But, however, Colapinto now down to P15. Kimi Antonelli moves up into the 14th place here. As Behrman, he's really just feeling alone back there. He ain't finding too much out of that Aston Martin he's been provided. Whereas on the other hand, his teammate Fernando Alonso, he is doing quite well for himself. He qualified P5 here, which I'd say best of the rest, because it was a Red Bull, Ferrari 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, Colapinto's struggling. It's been dreadful for him, as it's been quite good for Alpine. They really didn't seem to have much in quali trim, but their race trim, they're really shining a lot more. As Ricciardo sitting P11, he's not too far off Lando Norris, who's currently in the middle of a battle with Max Verstappen, as there's Valtteri Bottas aiming to fight Liam Lawson, as there's something happened to Albon. It's a spin on turn 4. Here's your replay. So yeah, he just takes a tiny bit too much curb and loses his car. That's him making the day arguably even worse for Williams, as there's Valtteri Bottas. Is he going to ruin the McLaren party? McLaren TP, of course, in this chat. But currently Lawson, he will hold on to P7 as Verstappen and Lando Norris start to catch up with him. As you can just see the fight for the lead, or at least for P3. As Alonso almost throws a punch at Hamilton into the third corner. Whereas Piastri and Leclerc, they've got a little lead to their own. Red Bull really seem to be enjoying it here, They just have the luxury of fighting each other and not have to be like worried or concerned about the repercussions. As Sergio Perez down the inside of George Russell, and it's up to P3 for the Ferrari. But Russell, he's going to fight back. He won't give up this easily. As there's Hamilton, and now Alonso alongside the Sauber. Perez gave Russell a squeeze, and now look at that, Russell having to defend Hamilton, but as a result lets Alonso by. It's unfortunate, as it looks like the heavens are opening a bit. You can see a bit of sunshine in the first sector. However, apart from that, it is really gloomy for the rest of the circuit. So yeah, it's not the best of days in Melbourne. As you can see just there, Lando Norris finishing off the move on Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen into P10. As it's Hamilton down the inside. He doesn't get the move on George Russell for now, but he will go again. The Sauber of Hamilton wrestles his way around the outside of turn 4. He doesn't spin like Albon done so a few laps ago. Instead, he moves up a place into P5. As Hamilton and Russell fighting really has dropped them off. Alonso and Perez. So there's going to be a bit of a recovery drive incoming for the likes of Hamilton, as he's already a second clear of George Russell here. He's really trying to drop the ball. As let's have a moment where we can just watch Lando Norris. You can see Bottas to the inside of Liam Lawson. He's going to move up, so will Norris. And there's Max Verstappen. He's going to have a go. But it really looks like that Sauber, with such talented drivers such as Verstappen, not able to get past the McLaren. So that could be a really big question point for the next race in terms of what can Sauber do to make it their life easier. As there's Lando Norris down the inside of Valtteri Bottas, up into P7 he goes. And now there's Fernando Alonso having a look at Sergio Perez, with Hamilton now caught up. Russell just not able to with that wing damage. As we've got our first stop of the season, Pierre Gasly now limping out the pits. He's in P19 now, and he's just behind Alex Albon. It's a time to try and trigger an undercut on the midfield group, such as Ricciardo, Porsche, Antonelli. And if he executes it well, it could be a big result. As there's Ricciardo just watching Verstappen overtaking Lawson. McLaren, they're now at a point where they're going south. Into the pits comes Liam Lawson. As we talk about him, Lando Norris, fastest lap of the race on the intermediates. He's been given a bunch of room. For Rodrigo, what's happened is he had a moment in 10 and 11 and just went into the wall. Just lost the back end and went flying into the wall and ended up on the circuit, caused a red flag. But anyways, we are now watching Norris have a go at George Russell. Down the inside goes the V-carb and up into P6 he goes. But never mind, Russell overtaking again and holding on to P6. But you can see Norris ain't going to give up, as there's Bottas in P8 now. There's your gaps to leader. Lawson 3 seconds ahead of Pierre Gasly. If you think about where Lawson pitted, 3 seconds puts you around Daniel Ricciardo, which is now P10. So give Gasly another lap and he could possibly be in for an undercut. As there's Daniel Ricciardo. Is he going to spoil Verstappen's day even more? He's really struggled in these conditions. As in comes Charles Leclerc and Sergio Perez. Leclerc triggering the undercut here. As there's Perez. You get a nice cinematic shot of his stop. But Leclerc, he's out with Porsche, but just behind. That's really poor placement by Red Bull, because he's now going to be stuck in the dirty air of Porsche. Heat his tyres up. And that possibly gives Piastri a chance. Rodrigo, do I think Gasly will get points? Personally, no. I think he'll be P12 here. As Piastri, he's pitted. The undercut chance for Leclerc binned. Unless he can overtake here. No, look at Porsche, he is holding up Leclerc. But there's Leclerc, he has a look to the outside of the sugar-free Red Bull, as Angry Ginger says. As Hadjar, he's having a little drive of his life here. He's having a look at Kimi Antonelli. He's enjoying the brink of the points, even though it probably won't last for too long. As we are at lap 31 of 58 in this Australian GP. We are so close, yet so far from the finish. As Hamilton now pits, there's the Sauber leaving the pit garage. Where will he come out? He will come out and overcut Sergio Perez, really showing what an extra 2 laps on the Inters can do here, especially with the slower cars such as the RBs, the Alpines, the Hasses, the Williams and Astons still staying out. Like, they just aren't able to get their way past. As you can see, this is about the 4th lap now, where Leclerc's having a go at Porsche, yet still unable to do it. Perez, however, overtakes Antonelli. Hadjar having a look though, and then Sainz. He's getting a bit impatient. He wants to move up into P12, even though it's only going to drop after pit stops. Fastest lap, Pierre Gasly in the Mercedes, nicking a crucial point off the lights of the Red Bulls and Ferraris, who clearly seem like the quickest cars here. However, strategy could play crucial here. As I'll be honest with you, if Alonso pits now, he could possibly be out ahead of Charles Leclerc. As there's Lando Norris having a lunge on the inside of Behrman. Behrman drops back even further now. As into pits goes Sainz and Hadjar. Porsche, however, having a fight between him, Hamilton and Perez. Hamilton, he's in a good chance to push towards a podium, as it looks like this is Piastri's race to lose now. He's led basically every single time you've crossed the finish line. He started on pole, he's in a really good place, in really good form. So I will not be surprised if he does win here, as it doesn't look like many others can respond to him. As there's Perez stuck behind Porsche, giving Hamilton a chance to run free a bit. However, Porsche pits, and now Perez can try and hunt down Hamilton as Leclerc picks up the fastest lap of the race. He is trying to catch his teammate now. You can see he's burning his tyres slightly more than his teammate, but it's probably that he had an extra lap out on track. As the order is slightly becoming more normal, Verstappen probably going to pit in the next lap or so. As you can see, he is just with Ricardo Bottas. And in Piastri's radar, as you can see, the 2 Red Bulls just in the background. As Leclerc really getting close to his teammate. Could this be Leclerc's chance to take the win in the season opener? Danny Rick still relentlessly having looks and peeps at Max Verstappen. However, it's not coming yet, and by the looks of it, remove for points really isn't on Verstappen's bingo cards here. As will Piastri get the move done on Ricciardo? He looks to the inside but won't be able to. And now look who's right behind him, Charles Leclerc. it's going to get interesting. What Red Bull is going to work their way through this field quickest? As I personally think Alonso could win this race now. He's been on those tyres for a good 20 laps. He could try and gamble it to the end. Whereas for Verstappen and Bottas and Russell, I think they will have to make a stop. So it's possibly an Aston Martin advantage here. But we will find out when they pit. Verstappen, however, to the inside of Valtteri Bottas. Bottas has tried it on Lawson. He's also tried it on Lawson. Lawson's even tried it on Colapinto, and it's failed many times. But Verstappen makes it stick. Or will he? Valtteri Bottas, he comes back, but he will just have to follow behind. Sergio Perez, fastest lap of the race. Hamilton's caught up with the two Red Bulls, and looks like Perez will be in a short moment as well. As if Alonso pits now, it's safe to assume he won't even be in front of the McLaren of Lawson. And it really begs a question, will Gasly actually get points? Chances, I think, have now skyrocketed with the traffic being a big factor here. So yeah, the pack, in a way, just regrouping as people stay out a bit longer. Russell is leading this train of havoc, but apart from that, it's currently going well for Hamilton, especially how he started in P6. But however, Oscar Piastri, he's the big name here. He's not been able to overtake Ricciardo or Bottas or Verstappen in about the last 7 laps. So he's really suffering of this, because now he's got 3 of his rivals right up his chuff. And soon we'll have Lando Norris with him as well. As there goes Piastri to the inside, but he won't do it. Instead, Leclerc will take the lead of this race, even though it does say he's P6. Leclerc, once everyone's pitted, will be your race leader. Will Leclerc, though, be able to actually make his way through the field, unlike his teammate has been able to do? As there's a move down the inside. There's Valtteri Bottas. The Red Bull probably has better tyres, better grip. But yeah, he's going to get it. He's going to have the inside line. But there's Oscar Piastri. He's pulled to the inside, but he didn't go for a lunge. But instead, we have Hamilton and Perez having their own glances at a chance of disrupting a possible 1-2 Red Bull. As Ricciardo fighting Verstappen over third. But if you look at Verstappen's tyres, they are bound to go. So I don't think he will be on them for much longer. If he gets a puncture, it's really going to be poor strategy by Sauber, as he's got 16 more laps. As currently Ricciardo moves up into P3 here. And Bottas has actually attempted to regain a place on Leclerc. Verstappen's tyres are gone. He's really being a stimulant in this pack regrouping, as Piastri has overtaken Bottas. Is he going to even go for Max Verstappen? As Hamilton's gone for Valtteri Bottas. He's on the inside for this corner now. He's going to go down the inside. He's going to get the place, hopefully. But looks like Bottas just gets better exit, even though Hamilton ends up doing so. And now Piastri, it's his turn to overtake Verstappen. Or is it going to be Hamilton? Is this a part of Sauber's plan? Back drivers into Hamilton, give Hamilton a bit out the win, as there goes Hamilton into P6. And now it's about time he overtakes his teammate, as he's got to fight off Piastri. He's defended well, he's got the move. Norris, however, has just overtaken Bottas who was being overtaken by this Sauber of Hamilton only a lap ago. As there's Piastri to the outside, Hamilton has to defend. Norris has overtaken Sergio Perez as off goes a Red Bull. As Hamilton, P6 now, Lando Norris in P8. As there's Hamilton down the inside. Verstappen, however, he hangs on fastest lap of the race, goes to Théo Pourchaire in the V-carb. But Hamilton finally gets into P5, but 4.5 seconds back on Ricciardo, who's the second, back on Charles Leclerc now. 15 laps to go here. Verstappen's tyres really running low. A puncture is practically guaranteed here. 15 laps. Who will win though? Anyone in chat want to predict? I think it's going to have to be Charles Leclerc here. Unless he gets stuck behind Russell again. And then Hamilton catches. But I don't see that personally. As Verstappen still hanging on for dear life against Oscar Piastri. Who's now down the inside in turn 3. Round the outside of turn 4. And gets it done through turn 5. It's now Red Bull P6 for Oscar Piastri. Will Lando Norris be able to make quick use of the Sauber? Not yet. Verstappen already a second back on Piastri. As there's Gasly fighting Perez. As I've called it, Verstappen puncture. You can watch it, but we've just seen it. Into the pits goes Max Verstappen. As Hamilton sets fastest lap of the race, he's on a hunt. He's overtaken Daniel Ricciardo. And now he's 3 seconds off Charles Leclerc, who is about to catch up with Russell. Yellow flags out on track. Can't tell what for. It's Antonelli. Let's see what he's done. It says a lock up in turn 1. There's Verstappen leaving the pits in P17. It's all gone wrong for Sauber here. As Antonelli just goes off into the gravel and has to rejoin behind Oliver Behrman. And we can just look again at Alonso's tyres. He's doing about 5% every 5 laps. He's really nurturing them. But as a result, 10 laps and he'll still be out of puncture territory. Russell, however, he's probably going to end up yielding. Piastri fastest lap of the race. He's overtaken Ricciardo now. Lando Norris, he's about to overtake Ricciardo as well, who looks like he could be a next name to get a puncture here. Lots of gambles being taken, but for Ricciardo, Russell and Alonso, they need to. Because if they are to pit from where they are, they're not going to be anywhere near the points. So they need this. But Russell is probably in the worst state. Maybe even Ricciardo. As a Leclerc, he's now into P2. 10 laps to catch Fernando Alonso. As Bottas, he picks up a puncture in the Haas. You can see it there. He just gets it at the same place as Verstappen. It must be that curve which ends up ruining the tyre. And it's a rear puncture as well. Bottas in the pits now. And I personally think it gives Williams a good opportunity at a podium. No, not a podium, at points. Because I think Ricciardo, Russell are going to also face that same problem in the final 10 laps. I think Alonso will get away and possibly come top 5 as a result. As 10 laps to go, 2.6 between Leclerc and Alonso. The two Haas cars at the back of the field now. Antonelli leads Bottas, but I don't know. I think Bottas could possibly recover and maybe even go for points if he's quick enough about it. However, Hamilton to the inside of Russell, not yet. Will he get the move done into this corner? No, he won't. He's going to have to take another lap, being 4 seconds behind on Leclerc. And it's going to only grow. As you can see back there, Oscar Piastri, Lando Norris, all in a good bid to try and catch Hamilton and disrupt Sauber's great drive for this 7-time world champion. He started in P2, no, not in P2, in P6 I think it was, and he's moved his way up into P4. So it's been a good drive, but then he's only going to go upwards from here. As Alonso, it's 8 laps to go. You can look at tyres again. Ricciardo's at 30%, Russell's at 32%. They're going to get punctures. Alonso can legitimately go to the end with this, however, as there's Russell having a look at Hamilton. But the big point to cover is this: Leclerc right behind Alonso. Hamilton, he's only just overtaken Russell. That's 7 seconds for Hamilton to try and gain and overtake in about 7 laps. Will he do that? Because if Leclerc is still behind Alonso when Hamilton reaches him, it's all possible that the likes of Hamilton could win. But Leclerc to the inside, is he going to get the move done? No, he won't. He will have to yield for now. That's another opportunity for Hamilton to chip away. It's now 5.5, it's 1.5 a lap at the moment. Is Leclerc going to get past? No. Because Alonso, really good defence. He's an experienced warrior in this field. He knows how to defend when need be, and this is the time to defend. He's placing the car beautifully, roughly, just off centre to the road, just slightly over the racing line, forcing the car to go to the inside. But that's still even really difficult to do so, as Pourchaire, he's making his way up the field now, as Leclerc has finally got past the Aston Martin. As will Pourchaire get past Daniel Ricciardo in the Alpine. He's gone to the outside. He's going to go around the outside in turn 3, down the inside through turn 4. Favourable move, and he's done it. Antonelli in the Haas, fastest lap. As there is Daniel Ricciardo now having to defend on Sergio Perez. This is only getting worse for the Ferraris, as Russell's working his way backwards, and Perez incapable of making moves, but he's done it now on Ricciardo. Now that the time's right, because Lawson, Sainz, Colapinto and Albon have all caught up with this kerfuffle. As there's Pierre Gasly, he's getting the move done. Almost, that was. As something to follow along with is Norris versus Oscar Piastri. Hamilton still in process of catching Alonso. Doesn't look like he will catch Leclerc for the end. And it's a very solid bid that Alonso does get a podium here in the season opener. It will be a great strategy play by Aston Martin. And now there is Norris up into P4. May they hunt Hamilton? If they hunt Hamilton, then we could see a fight over the final podium position, as it doesn't really look like Hamilton's catching Alonso too much more. Ricciardo really close to puncture territory, as Carlos Sainz is into the points now. Chances of Alpine points, 0. What happened to Oscar? He got stuck behind Daniel Ricciardo. Leclerc, Hamilton managed to overtake quicker, and then Norris literally just overtaken to Oscar Piastri in the previous lap. But yeah, it's just not been great in terms of overtaking by Oscar Piastri. There's Max Verstappen in 14th. He's on the freshest tyres of this group. So could the Sauber make his way up? There's 3 laps to go, and it's almost certain that Red Bull win this. However, I can't tell who's going to get the podium. Norris is now within a second of Hamilton. Piastri is within a second of Norris, as there's Pourchaire doing wonders for VCARB. He started in about 13th, 14th here, and he's up to P6. So there's high praise for Théo Pourchaire, but I can't distinctly say too much, as there's Daniel Ricciardo. Again, same place as Bottas, same place as Verstappen. He gets a puncture. That's him out of this race. I'm now honestly waiting for George Russell too, as he's got Sergio Perez behind him fighting over P7. And that will give Colapinto points when it happens. As Piastri has dropped off from Norris, as Hamilton looks like he's getting a bit of a wiggle on. It's final lap here in Australia. Russell, he's one lap away from getting out of this without a puncture. Is he going to do it? If so, it'll be P7, P8 for the Ferraris. There's Perez. I would just give up the place if I was Russell, because it's very close to a puncture. He's also dropping Perez back into Pierre Gasly. However, despite all that, despite the red flag, here's Charles Leclerc. He's going through the final few motions now, into the penultimate corner, into the final corner. He's mastered the conditions. He's had a very tough day trying to pass Piastri, but he will win. And then there's Hamilton, P2, Alonso 3rd, Norris 4th, Piastri 5th. Pourchaire will come home P6. But George Russell, he has got a puncture. It was brewing. Perez 7th, Gasly 8th, Sainz 9th, Colapinto 10th, Albon 11th, Verstappen 12th. Russell limps to the line with a puncture. That's what you get for being too ballsy. But Ricciardo, he's going to be last. 15 off the pack because of the puncture of his own. But there we are. That was a masterclass by the Williams. It was P19 and P20. 1 car in the points and 1 just outside. But there's your race results. Charles Leclerc wins it. Lewis Hamilton 2nd. Alonso 3rd. Lando Norris 4th. Oscar Piastri 5th. Théo Pourchaire 6th. Sergio Perez in 7th. Pierre Gasly 8th. Carlos Sainz 9th. Colapinto starts where he finishes, P10. Albon up 9 for P11. Verstappen P12. Russell P13, lost 9 places. Lawson down 6 in P14. Behrman starts where he finishes, P15. Bottas 16th. Hadjar 17th. Antonelli fastest lap, P18. Daniel Ricciardo P19. Yuki Tsunoda, the one DNF of this race. He didn't make it 10 laps into the event, and it was him out. In terms of drivers, it's same as they finished for the race. But constructors, Red Bull 36, RB 20, Sauber 18, Aston Martin 15, Ferrari 6, Mercedes 4, Williams 2, McLaren 1, Haas and Alpine, all both pointless in the opening event. Hope you all enjoyed. Sorry for not having commentary for the first 17 laps. But yeah, hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you for round 2 on Friday. Goodbye.